Kindle Direct Publishing changed low-content book publishing for the good, or so we'd hope. But before we get into all of that, let's discuss first of all, what exactly are low-content books, because I know there's still some people who haven't heard about it. It includes publishing things like diaries, journals, planners, notebook, activity books, and the like. Things that require a customer not to necessarily consume by reading, but consume through filling out. So something as simple as a diary where it requires work on their behalf other than just reading. But I discovered this option back around 2015 to 2016 by way of an old YouTuber, Dave Koziel. Back then, nobody talked about low content book publishing, even though I'd heard it on a YouTube channel back then. Why was that? Well, because there was no public knowledge of whether Amazon was for it or against it. Were we flying under the radar with some stuff that necessarily was not okay? So we were very leery, especially when it started getting great results. Now, where does Amazon stand with low-content book publishing now? Let's talk about it. Around April of 2020, Ingram Spark issued a statement about their policy changes, and with that policy change came the ejection of low-content books from Ingram's distribution network. They were not all about that life. Yeah, and sure, they walked it back just a little bit eventually, but for the most part, they do not want to distribute journals and diaries. What exactly were the implications back then? Well, my theory was that since Ingram Spark is owned by Ingram Content Group, who also does distribution for KDP expanded distribution, then there would definitely be some effects over on the KDP platform. Eventually, KDP had to play by those same rules for expanded distribution that Ingram Spark did. Now, it all comes back to Ingram Content Group. They're the reason why that it's been changed. Now, what happened? Account holders with low content books in KDP immediately saw the expanded distribution option grayed out and not allowed for that book. Apparently, there's some automation that manages this because, as stated by some of my viewers, every now and then they would have a fiction or non-fiction book that would be put in as a low content book. They would lose expanded distribution, meaning that it was creating false positives, and at that instance, they'd have to reach out to the team and have that fixed. So it was quiet until about early May 2022, and that's when a good friend of mine, Keith Wheeler, reported about the series option removal on Kindle Direct Publishing. Amazon stated on their help page, in their words, public domain and low content books, such as notebooks and journals, are not eligible for creating a series. Now, this means that you can't take, say, 5 or 6 different low content books and put it into a series. Is this a deal breaker? In my opinion, no, it's not a big deal whatsoever, especially if you're utilizing other ways like Amazon ads or sending external traffic there. You should be fine. A series is not going to add that much more discoverability. Now, on the surface, it merely looks like KDP doesn't want to help out low content books, but it's farthest from the truth. They really obviously finally said,
hey, we're kind of cool with this, but you just gotta kind of do these things.
The implications are far better than you'd think. After all, for years, Amazon didn't say a word about low content books. And over the past 5 to 7 years, KDP's stance on low content books has been unknown. Many self-professed gurus and experts here on YouTube shared what they believe was right for publishing low content books, but they were all sketchy theories because Amazon never really said what the do's and don'ts were for publishing low content books. Meanwhile, over the past few years, KDP account holders had their accounts shut down, and in most instances, they never got a clear understanding of why. Duplicate interiors were often cited as the cause, but even then, Amazon didn't really even say the word. It's just what people were able to figure out on their own. They just terminated the account holders and moved on with business as usual. No answers and even more questions than we started with. The mere fact that they finally made a public statement is enough to indicate low content books are here to stay. KDP was finally embracing this new type of self-publishing, and I'm certainly glad that they did. Within days after the announcement, KDP updated their help page to include low-content books. Big shout out to Patty from Stack and Profit on YouTube. He was able to share this piece and I was informed. So to summarize the information, they said low-content books are anything with minimal or no content. Pretty easy, right? The pages are usually repetitive and designed for users to fill in. This includes things like notebooks, planners, journals, and so on. Now, what is not low content, and which stands in complete contrast to what we've said for the longest time, activity books, puzzle books, and coloring books are not low content, according to them. Now, the next thing is you do not get ISBNs for your low content books. Now, why no ISBNs? If you think about this, the cost of ISBNs has to be adding up, because I mean, there are some account holders uploading hundreds of low content books in a given day, sometimes thousands. So you got to think this adds up after a while, and these ISBNs, I doubt, come to them for free. They've actually got to work with the United States registration for ISBNs, Bowker, because Bowker's got the whole monopoly on it. So that's going to cost, in the cheapest it's going to cost is about $1.50. So you can imagine if millions of these things are done in the course of a week, that's going to be millions of dollars eventually. And that's tons of uploads, lots of costs, and to be honest, it's just inessential. If you're just going to distribute it on their platform, why do you need an ISBN? But there's a little bit of foreshadowing here, because I will tell you why the ISBN is important. At the end of the post, KDP mentioned more details were rolling out on May 17th of 2022. True to their word, the page updated with way more information. Now, because you don't have an ISBN, you will lose the look inside feature that is available on desktop when visiting Amazon. Now, is that a deal breaker again? I don't know. You be the judge. Because on mobile, you can't really see the look inside features. And I think there's a lot of people that are accessing Amazon via mobile. Are you one of those? Because I know I am. The next thing is they now have a low content box option. When you go to upload your book, inside the product details of the first step in the publishing process, it says, does your book classify as any of these types? Choose all that apply, and this includes a low content book, which example is journals, notebooks, and planners, and of course large print, which that option's been there for years. Now you should note, once you select low content as an option and publish it, you're locked into it. The only way to back out is to delist it and then publish it under a different ASIN. Here's a theory. I'd recommend selecting your two browse categories before selecting the low content option, because it ends up graying that out. I'm not sure it'll benefit you right now, but should Amazon roll out to support low content books through specific categories and browse paths on Amazon, your book will be ready to land in the right spot. Now, technically, you should select non-classifiable, but they haven't come out to say what we should or should not select just yet. To be clear, low content books are only for print books, and this includes paperback and hardcover editions, not ebooks. As you can imagine, line journals and coloring books aren't very practical for e-readers. If you want to take a deeper dive into these changes for low content books, then join me over here in this very next video. I'll see you there.